you are Airsoft Tundra. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Is that your nickname, like call sign or whatever, on the field as well?
It's just kind of something I came up with. Everyone just kind of calls me by my normal name. So just
Okay.
something that just came to me one day and decided I was like, I'm just gonna roll with it.
Yeah.
Nothing
Well,
too
you,
crazy and fancy, just kind of basic.
yeah. Now, do you guys, so you're in Utah, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And you guys, do you like playing in the cold? Do you play in the snow and in the cold and all that?
Yeah, I play all year round.
Okay.
Winter time's a hit and miss. Sometimes our guns will work, other times it's just too cold. I'm like, I'm gonna sit in my truck.
For
Too
real.
cold.
Yeah. Well, somebody was talking about they were playing it was so cold out, their grease started freezing up like on their sniper rifle.
Ooh.
So they couldn't, cycle it was harder and harder to cycle. I was like, "Shit, dude. That's
Yeah,
cold as hell."
that sounds pretty cool. I haven't had that issue, but if it gets that cold, I'm out.
So you are the third or fourth person. I can't remember. Maybe the third person I've talked to in Utah. But it's K Factor 39 is his
Mhm.
Instagram and YouTube. He's a sniper out there. I don't know. Do you follow anyone else that's in Utah that? Well,
Um,
that's a dumb question. Duh.
you're
No, you
good.
play by yourself. Um, so yeah, I'm trying to think. What was the? I can't remember the other guy's name that was out there. He was actually one of the ones that I talked to that just did the audio. He didn't, and he's a photographer. He's an airsofter, but he takes photographs. And I put a bunch of his pictures up,
Mm.
and so yeah, it was
Oh crap! What's his name? I think I might know who you're talking about.
really,
Crap.
yeah. He I think his name was.
Is it After Action Airsoft? I think.
That's it. Thank
Yes,
you.
actually, and I do know him. I know him and K Factor. I've played with K Factor a few times, and
Oh, you've
I get a
actually
lot
played
of
with him. Okay.
yeah. I played with him out there at that battle for Los Angeles last year.
Oh, nice.
So it was kind of fun rolling with him and stuff. A lot of my guys here in Utah, they weren't. A lot of them didn't make it out, but he was going, so I kind of linked up with him, and so I was kind of his close quarter kind of guy to roll with for a while. And then, airsoft goes, people just kind of separate ways. We kind of get
Right.
lost.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
So,
Now, are you in the same area of Utah as these guys? Do you know?
so I'm located up north. I'm more towards closer to Idaho.
Mm.
So I live up there. A lot of my guys kind of live around Layton, kind of closer to Salt Lake, about an hour away from
Oh,
there.
my daughter
So
lives in it might be Layton or Bountiful. I can't remember. It's like right by Salt
okay,
Lake City. Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I
Okay.
live I live down there. I live farther up north. I used to live down there in West Valley, and then we moved up here. So there's a little bit of airsoft up here up north, but not as much as there is going down south.
Gotcha. Now, do you guys have to do the same thing? What these guys were talking about is they don't really have fields around them. They just get groups together, like pickup games basically. Like they follow like a Facebook group, and let's say somebody found somebody's property to play on, and they just go out and play in an open area.
Yeah,
You do the
that's
same thing.
yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. A lot of it's
Okay.
just public land that we all play on, or if we're lucky, we get to go out to places like I know K Factor brought up Hiawatha for Hardline.
Mm,
I worked with the organizer and stuff and helped them run those games. Those are the ones I really enjoy. We can kind of get to do on private property on different places to try.
yeah.
So those are the more fun ones in Utah.
Oh, cool. Okay. Hell yeah, man. Now, are you from Utah
Yes,
originally?
yeah, I've lived
Okay.
here my whole life.
Yeah. In that same area?
No, I grew up in Magna and then kind of bounced around different cities and stuff in Utah.
And what took you up where you're at now? Work?
Just my family got a house and stuff, and they
Mm,
moved up here, so
gotcha. Hell yeah.
pretty nice.
Now, you have siblings?
Yeah, I have one sibling.
Do they know you play airsoft?
Yeah, she knows I play airsoft. She's played a couple times with us. She tries to go out.
Oh,
Sometimes
okay.
she does, sometimes she doesn't. So it's a hit and a miss.
Gotcha. Well, that's what I was going to ask, if they're like, if they've, been exposed to it, if they're supportive, if they're, into it, or they're just like, why are you playing with toy guns?
Right, right. Yeah, she wants to get into it and all that, and then
Yeah.
she has other hobbies that she does, so it's like decides on what she wants to do. Sometimes she'll go out, and other times she's like, "No, I'm gonna stay home." So I'm like, "All right, bye. I'm gonna go play."
Right. Right. Okay. I gotcha. Cool, man. What kind of work do you do out there?
I work at a butter plant as a facility maintenance.
Oh, you do maintenance. Okay. Like
Yeah.
machine. Okay.
I fix the building. Sometimes I do machinery a little bit here and there, but usually it's kind of minor equipment.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you're like building maintenance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Gotcha. That's fun too.
Yeah, it has its good days.
Right. Yeah, I did maintenance in factories for a lot of years. So I
Oh
worked on
wow.
machines. Yeah. Manufacturing, die casting to, so injection molds, down here in South Carolina, it's mostly plastic. There's a lot of
Mhm.
plastic stuff down here. So extrusion and thermoforming, shit like that. So it's a lot of the same type of machines that run. I mean, anything with plastic is an extruder, which is like a giant Play-Doh machine.
Right.
Um, so yeah, just working on a lot of those type of things for many years. But yeah, building maintenance, I didn't really do too much. Um, but I hung out with, of course, the all the maintenance guys
Oh,
on
cool.
different shifts. Now, how did you get into that?
We went through an express company, like that helps other companies find employment, and
Yeah.
we just went through them when we first moved up here, and I've been working there ever since for about 2 years.
Okay.
So
Did you have experience doing that kind of stuff before?
um, a little bit. Some of the stuff is kind of really just kind of day to day billet, like normal stuff. But
Right.
some stuff I have learned that is new to me, so which would be kind of nice to learn.
Yeah. Were you interested in that kind of thing before?
Not fully, but I did kind of always been kind of more of a hands-on, like building kind of stuff and
Okay.
repairing and fixing things. So
Right.
I definitely was like, well, this is something I can get used to.
Right. Yeah, if it comes natural, if you're mechanically inclined, then working on like any kind of maintenance thing. Like when I went to different plants, I'd go to a different factory, be uh, they'd still be running plastic, but they would be a completely different format. So like blown film runs different than thermoforming. So blown film is like the extruder pushes it through a round die mold that's really thin, and it comes up. It goes straight up, and then there's a pipe in the middle that blows it up like a balloon, basically. And so it's depending on what size of a roll of plastic you're going to get, um, that's how wide the bubble, we call it the bubble, would be. And this thing goes 70 feet straight up, and
Uh,
yeah, and then it goes through a nip roller up top where it squeezes it together. And this is how you get giant rolls of plastic film. So that goes through that, and then it comes down and it gets cut and it separates into two. So you make two rolls at once. And these are the kind of rolls that they would make. Like the company I worked with, they would send those rolls out to a trash bag company, for example, and then they would take that roll and they would put it through their machine that pulls it out, cuts it, measured whatever, and it ends up being a trash bag. Seals the edges that need to be sealed, and so that's where so that runs way differently than thermoforming is, where you get your solo cups, red solo cups and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's like a big mold that just gets pressed. It presses that cup into the mold or whatever with hot plastic, like a hot plastic sheet that comes through,
Yeah.
and it just punches them out. and so that runs a little different. So when I go from that kind of thermoforming to blown film or blown film to thermoforming, the machines are different on the end. The extruders are the same, but like if you're mechanically inclined, you can just kind of bounce around and learn really quickly how this works because you have this understanding of how things work. Like you can kind of piece it
Yeah.
together, and it comes naturally. So that was always something that came naturally with me. So you've been doing this for 2 years. Obviously, you don't hate it enough to quit. So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah. So it came natural for you. Were you doing that kind of stuff before?
Um, Not really. I was working when I lived down in West Valley. I was working at a U-Haul facility, and I was cleaning company trucks.
Mm,
But on the off time when we weren't doing anything, I'd go over and watch what the mechanics were doing and kind of learn and help them a little bit
nice.
on what they were doing. So I kind of
Yeah.
followed it a little. I followed it, and my dad, it's grown. He was been a mechanic and everything, so
Okay.
he would come home and show me how to do things.
Sure. Yeah, that's always helpful, man. And that's most maintenance type of things have been, well, before YouTube became popular with videos that you could learn from.
Hmm.
That's how people learned how to work on cars and all that kind of stuff was, somebody showing them. My dad was a mechanic as well, so I grew up working on cars. And
Nice.
yeah, so, and then in the military, I didn't really do anything like that. It was just when I got out after the military was my first factory job. And that's where I started learning, about machines and that kind of thing. But I'd always had like a mechanical kind of background.
Mhm.
Now, do you work on your own airsoft guns? Do you tech?
I do tech a little bit, but
Okay,
up to a certain degree. Most teching I've done is to my MTW from Wolverine. It's kind of a
gotcha.
field strip it, and I know the ins and outs of it really quick.
Right.
Luckily, so but it's a pretty basic gun. You kind of break it apart, and there's only like a couple of things in it, and it's done. As compared to AEGs, those are I've never really dipped too much in the AEGs because there's just a lot to it, and I'm like I don't want to mess something up, and then it just kind of blows up in
Right.
your face. You're
Yeah,
like it's
for real.
broken.
Yeah, no kidding, bro. These I've said it a few times on this podcast where when I first the first gearbox I took apart, I didn't look up a video on it. I'm like, I know how to work on shit. Give me that thing. They would come home and be like, hey, this thing's broke. I'm like, let me look at it. So I had this whole wall actually before now. Uh, when we started a channel, this whole wall was tools. So I had it was pegboard, and I had all the hangers and all this kind of stuff. I had screwdrivers and the mini screwdriver sets and all kind of tools all across here. And so they'd bring them in. I'm like, I'll work on this shit. First gearbox I took apart for AEG,
Uh-huh.
springs went flying, bro.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
bounced off the fucking walls. I'm like, holy shit. I said, okay, let me look up a video now. Hopefully I can find these springs. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. Okay. Yeah, I don't like working on gearboxes, man. I did it
No.
probably 10 or more, a little more, but I don't like it.
It's just they're complicated. Like I did that to an MP5 that I won for free from Evike, and because I was gonna drop an HPA engine in it, and I took it apart, and I never got back together. I just took it to a swap meet and got someone can have it. I don't know how to fix it. It's just all these pieces and screws hanging out everywhere.
Oh
I'm like this is
God.
a little more complicated than I thought.
Right. No
uh,
shit. Well, and then sometimes those little screws that hold the gearboxes together, they strip
yeah.
because they're really soft, shitty fucking metal, whatever. I actually still have. I ordered, I don't know, 50, little bags of 50 of those screws, different
Mhm.
sizes and shit for these gearboxes. And then it got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm not working on these things anymore. Y'all just take them somewhere, okay? So, because I was editing all these videos, I'm like, I don't have time to find springs anymore. So, I still have all those bolts somewhere in the shed. But
Mm.
yeah. So yeah, I saw on your Instagram you said you've been playing for 10 years.
Yeah. I've been playing for 10 years.
and so this is your bio on your Instagram. This is how I found out. I do some stalking, right? So I can find out something about people. And playing 10 years and been rocking a caw from Umbrella Armory. I got to be honest, I don't know what that is, and I didn't look it up.
Oh, you're good.
Um,
So it's
so
actually
what is it?
called. So the technically the name is called an OCA. It's Umbrella
A caw.
Armory's own custom gun that they make. I actually have one. I actually have it with me right now.
Yeah, let's see it.
So this is their kind of custom rifle. You can kind of tell.
Oh, nice.
So it's just a standard M4. What they mainly do to it is they buy the standard like M4 pieces like mil spec rail, just a custom receiver that they buy, and they just kind of engrave their own labeling on it. Um,
Oh, that's
what
cool.
they're
Okay.
what they're really known for though is their internal work they do. They make
Mm,
probably the best internal work on the market.
really?
They are a bit pricey to buy, but one of my buddies that I know he has a sponsorship through him, and
Yeah.
he talks to the owner all the time. And the reason why people kind of complain because some of their guns, the Okas, they go for this pricey piece of like 2 grand.
Wait. Hold on now. Okay, you're saying pricey. I'm thinking, okay, $800. Like, I guess that's to me. I don't know.
Yeah,
2 grand, bro.
yeah, that's kind of more of like the end of the line. Like if you don't want to tag, but you've been playing for X amount of years and you just want
Yeah,
to. But they do amazing tech work. My buddy, my friend Mike is what his name is. His daughter has one of their first ever batches they made of them,
yeah.
and it's been running for 6 years. And it's only had, I think, two things happen to it. Like it burnt the motor. Like there was a plate that came loose, and
Okay,
then 6 years, and then they actually burned its motor out after 6 years or 7 years of running just straight without any like tech work or anything checking on it. So
that's
they were like,
amazing.
they took it out, and the motors in them have those little coils, copper coils in them, and they're like,
Right,
there was nothing left. It
right.
was
Okay,
gone.
so just yeah. So that's not the gun's fault. Like that is, yeah. Okay,
No, it's just
that's just
playing on it.
basic wear and tear.
Yeah. So it's like
Damn.
it's a 3 to 4 man group out there, and they're located in California, and
Okay,
it's like 3 or 4 people. That's it. And
really?
and it's like an assembly line, so each person has their own thing that they do
Right.
to kind of to tech work and all their stuff, and they put thousands of BBs through their equipment and stuff before they ship it out, just to make sure that it's prepared and ready for the field.
So when you buy this, um, at that price, you get it, and you don't have to really do anything.
Hmm.
Like people do all the upgrades and shit. This is basically out of the box. It's ready to go with all the stuff that you're gonna want, basically, like to shoot straight and decently far or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. They do have a couple other variants. They have made cheaper
Okay.
ones. They do have some that they make for about $800, where they
Yeah.
still do their own little tech work. It's not as in depth as buying
Right.
some of
Right.
their more expensive ones, but still, like it's a better kind of beginner's guide to those who have played for X many years. If you don't want to spend your own
Yeah.
money and learn how to tech and all that, and have to go through that headache
Okay.
for
So
it.
now, well, I'm glad you told me that. This answers the question I just had with somebody like in the last week and a half or so. I said, people get their guns. From what I've seen, most people get their guns and immediately start upgrading, and then they don't know what they're
Mhm.
doing, and then they mess it up, and they spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on one gun, and then it still isn't running perfect. So,
Yeah.
and I asked, I can't remember who I was talking with when I said this, but I was like, so is there somewhere you can just buy a gun ready to go out of the box that is, so it's more expensive, but I could take it out, take it to the field. I don't have to upgrade it. It's ready to go. It's already upgraded with all the basic, shit that
Hmm.
everybody puts in it. And, like companies should offer a bare bones for somebody that wants to build their own shit, and then a high end one that you don't have to mess with. And that was the part of the conversation we were having. So that answers my question. I did not know. I've heard of Umbrella Armory since I
Hmm.
started, the YouTube channel, but honestly, I didn't know I just thought they were like a parts distributor or something like that. So I didn't
They
know.
yeah, I mean they sell some of their own hardware kits you can buy to
Yeah.
install in your own stuff. Like they sell their own inner barrels and hop up units that they make
Mm-hmm.
that are pre-assembled and everything that you can buy to
Okay.
put in your guns. Um, there's that one. Yeah, they kind of do that, and they also do sell a lot of their offshore parts. Like if they buy a Crytek, they'll buy a Crytek, and then they'll strip the Crytek parts out of it and put their own parts in. So they'll sell those excess Crytek parts for people that want to buy and
Mm,
use those. So they are kind of a parts distributor person you can buy parts from,
okay.
but they're more known for their guns and everything that they do their tech work on.
Dude, that's amazing though that a gun like that would run for 6 years without, any really major problems, except for
Yeah,
obviously, I mean, that's an easy swap too, like the
yeah,
motor.
they put in they've recently switched within the past 3 years ago. They switched to brushless motors, so they can
Mm,
run a lot longer and they
hmm.
won't heat up as they'll only get about half as hot as what a normal motor would get.
Right.
So
Yeah, I've seen that. That's cool. Okay. Well, man, I would love to talk with one of those guys, Umbrella Armory, because, they're a big name. Like I said, I heard about them right away when we started the
mhm,
channel, but I didn't really know what they did, or the scope of what they did. So, but yeah, that's a good option for somebody that doesn't want to mess with teching. That
yeah.
if they have the money, it gives them something to work towards.
Mhm.
Um, that's like you said, that's definitely a lot more expensive gun than what most people start out with for sure.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah,
when people ask me what I run, I tell them, yeah, I run this or this, but I also don't know. Yeah, I've been playing for 10 years, so
right.
I've been to the ballpark of starting with a basic $150 gun and working my way up slowly,
Uh-huh.
and so I just kind of finally found my happy spot with the guns that I have, and then it's kind of now just okay, what gear do I want to buy now, and
Gotcha.
fun stuff like that.
So the MTW is kind of that's an M4 style as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so I actually have this one too with me.
Yeah.
Um, it's the M4 style, but
Yeah.
it runs off of the regulator, which a lot of HPA users use.
Okay.
So I have mine running through the back of the base plate, but sometimes I run it through the bottom of my grip.
Oh, okay.
So
That looks
yeah,
cool too.
that's the first one I got out of my higher end guns that I've had. That was the first one I bought back about I want to say 4 years ago, I think.
The MTW?
Yeah. So I
Oh,
got that one. I got that one first and ran it,
yeah.
and then and I love Wolverine. When people ask me what I run for HP, I tell them just go with Wolverine. There's Polar Star is also a really good brand. I have used their stuff in the past, but Wolverine is such a simple gun. Their NTWs are really nice. You can open them up and it's just okay. There's this, and this. Like there's no actual gearbox to their NTWs.
Yeah.
Depending on what you buy, if you buy like they have this different engines, the Inferno that which run
Mm.
on a circuit board, or you can buy their Reaper M, which all it is just a trigger. There's no electronics in it, so you can dunk it in water and just still keep playing with it and not
Oh,
have to
so
worry.
that's the mechanical one, right?
Yeah, the mechanical
Okay.
one.
Okay.
With the Inferno, you can still run. You can dunk it. They have a video series of them actually like beating their own gun and dunking it in water, and it still shoots.
What?
Mm.
Oh my God.
Like,
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to check them out. Uh, they're one of the other ones too that I've heard their name a lot, but I haven't done any research on what, the scope of what they do is, either. So, uh, yeah, man, that doing a stress test on some of these guns is is interesting because, especially for me coming in to airsoft, like not knowing anything about it for, you know, I just found out about it like 3 years ago, and
cool.
then yeah, so my sons started playing 3.5 years ago, and I was paralyzed. I was coming out of an illness that I was paralyzed for a long time, well, more than a year. So I once I was able to once I started getting better,
Mm.
I wanted something to do, so I started the channel. They were playing. I was like, here, I'll film all this stuff, and that's where we ended up here. But so I before that I didn't know anything about airsoft. I played paintball back in the late '90s, mid '90s, and for like 6 years. So all these things, all what I'm hearing when I'm talking with people is, yeah, I got this gun and and then it broke, and then I got this gun and then it broke, and I'm like, okay, so
Yeah.
uh, now I'm here, so I'm like, oh, so airsoft guns break. That's what they do. Okay,
Yeah, sometimes they do. When it happens, it kind of sucks. But sometimes it's a simple fix. Sometimes it's
yeah,
okay. This might be a little deeper than I expect.
yeah. The speaking of this mechanical one, we had last year. One of the guys that we met through our channel who lives, he ended up, we found out he lives fairly close with us, like within 30 minutes. He's been in a couple of videos on our channel, and he built a Kythera, maybe.
Ooh.
Um, but anyway, it was similar setup. It was a mechanical.
Hmm.
So he had the little pull cable in the back to reset the trigger thing or whatever if it locked up or something. I can't remember. But I guess that part on that particular engine was an issue because as I started learning and talking with more people, I think that thing would lock up sometimes.
Hmm.
Um, so anyway, so seeing when they do these stress tests on their guns is very useful, I'm sure, to find out because I've heard different things about like the Kytheras, that they're not really
Yeah,
preferred,
I've heard of that too. Yeah, I was like, I like those bigger companies, but at the same time, they get those stuff mass produced
Mm,
as compared to Wolverine. They post a lot of videos on how they do their stuff, and there's just not massively produced. They
yeah,
take the time and the effort to go through all of their piece, and it's like an assembly line with their own workers doing this, like
right,
lubing the tubing and doing all that stuff. So they're inspecting their equipment as it goes,
yeah,
as compared to certain of other companies where they mass produce their equipment. You could get a bad
hmm,
batch, or you could get a good batch. It's a
yep,
hit and a miss.
for
So
sure, yeah, definitely. Okay, so how did you get into airsoft? You've been in for 10 years. Did you started when you were younger, obviously?
yeah, I got into it. There was a when I was living out at Eagle Mountain. I had a friend of mine out there that he asked me one day if I wanted to go out and play airsoft, and I looked at him like, what is that? Because I grew up playing with Nerf guns and
Oh,
stupid stuff
nice.
like that. So I was always,
Yeah,
when I go outside and play with them, I'm like, there's got to be something better than this. And I looked at paintball, and then my friend showed me airsoft, and just right from then, I just kept on wanting to play. It just felt right to me, and I had a lot of fun doing it. You know,
yeah,
it's a little not as aggressive as paintball, but it's also like get more kind of more realistic stuff out of it.
right. Now, were you exposed to like growing up? Were you exposed to guns, just regular guns in general?
Yeah,
Okay,
I was exposed to that and growing up and stuff. My dad and my grandparents and all that, so they kind of did learn to show me the ropes and all that, and being a good kid, never touched it and anything like that.
right. Learned all the safety stuff and all that.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a lot of a big draw or interest. I think for a lot of people with airsoft is the that the guns are replicas. That they
Mhm.
look like real guns. Whereas paintball, they don't. They look like paintball guns. But the big thing with paintball, what I've heard is, and I haven't played since like early 2000, is that it's very expensive to play because the paint is so expensive. So the
Yeah.
gun's cheaper, but the paint is expensive, and that kind of thing. So whereas airsoft, it's the exact opposite. Like the guns are more expensive, but the BBs are cheap as hell. Once you get your gun and a battery and a charger, you're
Hmm.
pretty much set as long as that
Pretty
thing
much.
doesn't burn up. And then you buy a shit ton of BBs for cheap.
Yeah, especially at least with the lower end with the lower grams. I kind of play with between 2.8s and 3.2s.
Okay.
So they're a little heavier, so the price up there is like
Yeah.
$28 to $32 for like 5,000 rounds. So
Yeah.
which lasts me for quite a while, but sometimes it catches up to you real quick though, and you're like, oh, I gotta buy another bottle.
I'm sure. Yeah,
But definitely
especially
not
if you go
as
out for a long time and play, you're like, oh shit, I'm almost out.
Yeah, especially my buddy Mike. He used to play paintball actually in the early '90s too, and all that in California. And so he misses it a little bit. Like he would tell me stories about how paintball is a lot more advanced compared to airsofting. 'Cause,
Yeah,
you could plug in your 9-volt battery and just play all day. But he's like, yeah, the paint was just you have a bottle of paint and you dropped it, well, your paint's useless and that rate, or people it just became more and more. And he was like, just he got out of it.
yeah. The
So
I follow a bunch of paintball channels on Instagram, and I see all their videos where a lot of the videos where they're showing the gameplay or whatever. And these guys, when they start, I mean, like the slow motion and all this kind of stuff, and they're just pulling they start they're feathering and pa 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 pa, and then they pull
yeah,
out one of their whatever hopper things or whatever to dump all the balls into their hopper to refill, and it's just going everywhere. Like half of their tube is going on the ground, and I'm like,
yeah,
what, bro? You're you're
you just
just
wasted all
wasting.
that.
Yeah, no shit, dude.
Ugh.
Jesus. Yeah, that's funny. Okay. Now the guys you play with, do you have a team that you guys play with, or you just pick up whoever
But
is
used
available at
to
the time?
at the time, well, when I first started, I kind of just played with randoms, and
Mm-hmm.
then then I found out a place called Milsom City that was in Salt Lake City. They were an indoor airsoft arena, and that's where I started to go every Saturday. And that was like my bread and butter, playing indoor CQB stuff. So
Oh.
I had a lot of fun, and that's where actually where I met my buddy Mike at, him and his family, and I met the owner and owner of the AO, and just kind of became really good friends with everyone and all the employees there. And then they ended up shutting down due to just renting price was going up too
Mm,
high for the owner to take care of.
gotcha.
But I stayed with friends with them for a really long time, and then we kind of all started playing outdoor. And then a couple of them moved, other ones started families, and they didn't like outdoor as much as compared to
Mm,
playing indoor CQB.
mm-hmm.
But me and Mike would go out almost every weekend. We go out and play, and we would play with this team called the Utah Savages. We'd see them around every once in a while, talk to them, and then we start playing with them more and more. And then just last year, they invited us to join their team. So that's the kind of the team that me and Mike, my friend Mike, run with now. And they're really cool guys, really awesome, and they like to play aggressive and hard. And we just kind of like get up in people's faces, like let's do this.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Oh, that's cool. Hell yeah. Did you play sports in high school
I
or growing up?
didn't. I didn't play any
No.
sports in high school, and I kind of regret that decision now. I look back and I'm like, I should have done something.
No, I mean that's what I'm finding is, a lot of it's about 50-50, honestly. Like most people I've talked with, it's some half of them haven't played sports growing up. But what I find is once they, people, the ones that haven't get into airsoft, they're like what you just said. We're aggressive, we push, we do this and that, and that's standard across the board, whether somebody's played sports and has a sports background or not.
Mm.
Um, which is kind of interesting to me, I guess, because it's for somebody that maybe didn't grow up like athletic, like being forced into sport, not forced, but their parents
Yeah.
put them into whatever, as a kid growing up, and then through high school or something, some kind of physical activity like that that's organized, and then they don't have that kind of background. They still end up in airsoft being like, bro, this is the shit, man. Let's just run and gun, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and it's just like my all-time favorite hobby. I'm always trying to get people into it.
Yeah,
Telling my coworkers about it. I'm like, if you ever want to go, just send me a text. I got plenty of gear for people. So
right.
I'm always trying to grow the sport out here in Utah and kind of show people like it's really nothing. Instead of staying home on the weekend, we just come out and just shoot a couple plastic BBs.
Right.
Get you out of
Yeah,
the
you get
house in
that
the summertime.
out of the house, you get some camaraderie, hang out with new people, get to meet
Heck yeah.
people.
That's one of my favorite things about this sport is just meeting amazing people. It's just people you never thought you'd ever meet, and hear the stories, the other stories that people go through, and all what they, well, oh, I went to this event and I saw this and this, or I did this and that. It just makes me happy seeing that kind of stuff, especially the little ones when they start playing and how much fun they have and everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it is cool, man. Such a wild thing to me to see a hobby that is so broad that with gameplay style, with age range, right? You've
mhm.
got like an indoor field, you can have 12-year-olds playing with 45-year-olds. It's a whole range of that, and then of course outdoor as well. And then you got the mil sims that are hardcore 3 days, or Milsim West kind of stuff, and
Yeah,
then Speedsoft, and I mean all kind of different. There's almost something for everybody, every type of person. That gets into airsoft. They could just go with whatever. If they want to get into the gear or the guns, collecting. And one of the guys I talked with, the guy in Japan, Mayday-san, he's got a YouTube channel that's pretty big, and he started showing some of his guns off, bro. The whole freaking room
jeez.
was just packed when he by the time he was done, because he would take one off the wall, and then show it and then lay it down and take another one off and lay it down. And I mean, just guns everywhere. It was crazy. But
Yeesh.
there's people that get into the collecting of that, and then of course the gear. Are you big
Oh yeah.
into the Gucci gears kind of stuff with different
Um,
camo patterns?
Sometimes kind of. It's a hit and a miss. To me, I think of it as like kind of like a phase. Like you'll go through a phase for a while. You're like, okay, I don't want to buy any of this. I don't really care for this. And then you kind of reach that little moment for a second. You go, okay, maybe I'll go buy this uniform or something. Or just
Yeah.
recently, I bought some AOR2 digital camo like that the Marines use and all that.
Oh shit.
I
Okay.
bought some pants and all that because I saw that and I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I could use that. But
Right.
my kind of standard is just tan and green because that's what a lot of the Milsim operations use. So I
Right.
have a lot of that stuff. I'm trying to shrink it. I'm not trying to buy as much, but someone's always coming something with new, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll try that.
Yeah. Now, have you ever gotten into the cry thing? You know what I'm talking about? The some of the cry gear that's like supposed to
I
be super expensive.
I haven't tried any of it, but my friend Mike has. He actually
Okay.
bought I think he bought a pair or two of the pants,
Yeah.
and he's been running them for 3 or 4 years, and they nothing's happened to him.
Holy shit.
Like a little fading here and there, but like no holes, no tears in them. I run a,
Damn.
I run the company LBX and stuff. I really like them.
Oh, okay.
They're a little pricey, but not as pricey as Cry. But they've held up. My Ranger Green ones that I have, they just barely developed the hole in the right knee.
Yeah.
But it's a 2 layer, so where they slide, they have knee pads that slide in, but they just barely got a hole. I think after running them for 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
and that's almost my go-to uniform to wear every weekend.
Okay.
So they just like probably within the last year just developed like maybe a dime size hole after like 4 or 5 years of wearing them. So
Dude, that's good. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
they're really good.
durable.
That's what I recommend people. I'm like, if you're playing for X many years and then you want to look at getting a better uniform, I'd recommend them. Or how about half the price is Cry, but the way they're made, they'll last really long.
Right.
So
Oh, that's cool. Okay. Oh yeah, man. Now, what was your biggest event you've been to so far?
uh what does it say, sorry? In the last year, I guess in 2022, we went to, I think the biggest one I probably would have been up Colorado for AMS's 1861, I think was the biggest one. I
Oh
didn't
yeah,
do
okay. I did see that on Instagram. Yeah.
I didn't do too many last year. I think we did Jets game at the beginning of the year, which is pretty fun. I like going out to Victorville and playing at George Air Force Base,
Right.
and then a couple local events here here in Utah, and then we went to Colorado. That one was a kind of completely different opportunity for me with AMS because there are a lot of building structures, and this was just plain open field, just up in the kind of mountain terrainish area.
Oh wow.
Like it was just all woods and pine trees and stuff. So it was kind of a different experience for me to play
Hmm.
with that group or with that organization, but it was still a lot of fun. So I highly
Yeah,
recommend like if people in Colorado are looking to play somewhere, go to one of their event, go to that event, and they'll probably enjoy it because they'll probably be used to the terrain. Me
I
and
was
my
gonna
guys, we
say,
were
yeah.
like, okay, the elevation's a little bit higher, and there's a lot of rolling hills.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was talking with somebody recently, one of the teams out in California, and they were saying they went to something like that where they were at, where they're at in California. They're used to being at, at sea level basically,
Hmm.
and they went to somewhere. I thought it was in Utah, but it might have been in Colorado. They're like elevation 9,000,
Mm.
and they could barely breathe. It was
Yikes.
like they were running through the woods, like holy shit, bro. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so you gotta play if you're gonna do like those big events. You gotta train like yourself a little bit. Nothing super
Hmm.
bad, but if you're if you go to a place that's gonna have a different elevation. Like luckily for me, I'm always on my feet, always moving at my job, so I
Right.
was kind of prepared a little bit for that elevation. But it still whooped me the first day. Going back to the cars after playing for like 8 9 hours, I was like,
Whew.
I just want to go to bed now.
That's wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've been to some of those American Mill Sims.
I have.
Yeah, that's cool. So I just I've heard of that. I've heard of them. Obviously, Third Coast Airsoft, Mill Sim West, Lion Claws. I think that's mostly it. But for the big ones, have you ever thought about doing a Mill Sim West
I
event?
have actually. I thought
Okay.
about it quite a few times. I've been looking at doing the one out there in George Air Force Base. It's kind of
Yeah.
closer for me and wouldn't have to pack as much kind of outdoor equipment since they have a lot of building structures.
Gotcha.
But I have looked at doing them. I know they are a little more strict, but after playing so many kind of sorry, after playing so many of these bigger events with these organizations, I'm like, all right, they're as a lot of people put it, they're kind of a glorified TDM match.
Mm,
As for Milson West, there are a lot of ex-Rangers, ex-military that I want to try and see what they're like. So
yeah.
it has crossed my mind to try them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. The handoff.
Right? Yeah. Making sure the computer doesn't die.
Oh, you're on a
Yep.
laptop?
Yeah, just on a basic
Oh,
laptop.
oh yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because if that, what I found, people that I've talked with, if their laptop starts going, like getting low on battery, it starts lagging out, and it'll
Hmm.
knock them off the call. Same with phones. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Milsim West. Yeah, I've heard a lot about them for sure. And people that, so if you've gone to some bigger Milsims like American Milsim events, you're definitely a lot more prepared for a Milsim West event. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done a lot of like YouTube videos, watching a lot of YouTube videos, and they've talked to some of the people in their group chats on them, and they just tell you like, you know, you see these big events, but you really don't need to pack as much as you think.
Mm,
Like just make sure you bring some decent clothing, decent sleeping equipment, food. They also,
yeah.
food and water to make it that X amount of time. And they'll have water on site, of course, too. So that's why I look at them. If I can fit it all in a LBX light backpack and probably another duffel and a salt pack, I'm good to go.
Now
You really don't need to pack much.
I saw this video where, and I've heard this as well. The Milsim West, they have a list, a gear list or an item list, and they go over every item. Like they make you everyone line up and pull out every single thing out of their bag. So socks, all right, 2 pairs. This, whatever. Next on the list. Next on the list. And if you don't have one of those things on the list, you cannot play.
Yeah, I have seen that tack ups they have, and luckily a
Yeah,
lot of the stuff you need is in the red, which is like your standard stuff. You really need like a pair of
right,
socks or something like.
right. Like you're not. Yeah, don't forget your socks. Okay,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I've had that
you'd
issue
be in
where I forgot.
trouble. You imagine putting your boots on with trying to hike, 2 miles with bare feet in your boots. Talk
Mm.
about blisters.
Right. Yeah.
bro.
Ooh. It's probably about as bad as if you're wearing new boots and you're barely breaking in.
Oh,
Ooh.
I always tell people. I told my boys when they started. I was like, "Hey, where are you going?" I'm asking like because I didn't know. I wasn't familiar with what they were. The mil sim stuff. And I'm like, milsim, what is that? Oh, military simulation. I'm like, where is it? How? What? It's 3 days. I'm like, they're like, well, it's 2.5. We get there Friday, and we leave Sunday, early afternoon, whatever. And I'm like, and you're walking around, you're playing like it's a big. Oh yeah, it's a big area. We got to, do this. It's kind of like, military operation kind of thing for 2.5 days. I'm like, and you're buying new boots that you've never worn, and you're taking those.
Oh.
I was like, don't do that. What do you? All you got to do is ask me. I could have told you that, and they're like, shut up. We don't want to, I mean,
Yeah. Right.
they're my, I mean, I'm their dad. So they're like, we don't want to listen to you. Um, but I was like, man, do not, you're going to have blisters like crazy, bro.
Hmm.
So, and sure enough, they did, they learn, how to, but I always tell people when I've talking with them on here, if they've never been to a mil sim yet, I'm like, well, let me give you some advice real quick. Don't take brand new boots to your first mil sim. Get
Yep.
them ahead of time, like a month ahead of time. Try to break them in, wear them wherever. I don't care, around the house, wear them at work or whatever.
Mm.
Just get them loosened up a little bit so that they don't rub your heel raw and you have a giant freaking blister on there because you will not be comfortable. You'll be unhappy.
Oh yeah. I've learned with boots and gloves. I've learned with gloves another one. If you don't break your gloves, and I've bought a new pair of gloves at an event, and I wear them for like 20, 30 minutes. I'm like, I can't do this. Like my hands aren't gripping it as well
No.
because it's all just brand new off the factory line. They've been sitting in a box or
Yeah.
something.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Uh, so gloves as well, because they're real tight on the fingers.
Hmm.
At first, they're not, loose. They're not broken in. So when you're holding your grip and you're holding your gun, you're in this position with your hands in those gloves for a long period of time. Your fingers start going numb because they're not, it's all squeezed together. It's, tight material.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good point. Now, do you cut like the finger, your trigger finger,
Um, I used to
like open?
when I used to start playing. I actually ran fingerless gloves for the longest time
Yeah.
when I started playing. That also was just because I was able to get them really cheap. So I kind
Mm,
of just ran those, and I thought they were the coolest things. That I've kind of now just run I run mechanics gloves, kind of like those
hmm.
mechanic ones, but they're not the hard padded ones. I think they're just the soft coating ones, so they feel
Right.
more comfortable for my fingers. So I usually have to cut them open like some people do.
Right.
But I've never done it like that before, so I don't know how it would feel to have it cut
Gotcha.
open. So
Well, I've heard of people just snipping off their trigger finger glove,
mhm.
just that one, because typically it's in the finger, it's in the trigger guard. Usually your other fingers might, will be exposed if you don't have a glove on, but your trigger finger is usually pretty safe. But yeah, okay. So what do you got? What do you got coming up this year? What big plans you got for Mil Sims or?
So far for the beginning of the year, me and my team are going out to we're going out to that jet game out there in George Air Force Base in March. First
Hmm.
week of March, we're doing that. Wasn't my initial plan to go. I was trying to go to AMS's Arsenal game out in Indiana. I think it's at Butcherville, I think.
Oh,
At that training facility out there, and was going to try to go to that, but flight tickets and kind of doing the
oh,
math on the price, and I was like,
right.
it's kind of cheaper if I just go to California.
Mm,
So kind of that's beginning of the year, and then trying to convince them to go to Copperhead down in New Mexico, where they get their
mm.
700 to 800 players out there, and I've been to that one twice, and my
Oh, really?
absolute my absolute favorite AO is New Mexico AMS's game. Like
No
it,
shit. Okay.
it's a pricey one to go out to. I went to 4 and 5 with my friends out there, and I've loved that field. The first time we went, it actually had a rainstorm come through. So instead of like 90-degree weather, we had like maybe a nice cool 70 degrees
Wow.
with cloud coverage. It was like just top notch, the best.
Oh, I'm
Really,
sure.
probably the best game I've ever played.
Yeah, you're like, holy crap, what a nice break.
Yeah, and then Copperhead 5 a year later, we went again, and I had actually got huge exhaustion and kind of towards the end of the day and passed out at the hotel, and I'm like, I don't feel good.
Oh shit.
So that's one thing I definitely learned was water. Make sure to drink water and whatever, just drink lots of water
Oh,
because
for sure,
it
man.
is not fun being dehydrated or and all
Well,
that.
you know those videos these guys put out, like these event coordinators they put out, where they're like, "Hey, hydrate for these events," and Gatorade is not hydrating. You know, they'll always
Mhm.
say that kind of stuff because there's so many younger players that come out there that it's their first mil sim or whatever, and they're not used to running with 20, 30 pounds of gear on them and new boots, and
Yeah,
so
and
like you have all this new stuff on your it's rigid and you expend more energy, you sweat more doing this kind of stuff. So and you're totally covered up, especially if you have a plate carrier on. Like your chest and back are going to be sweating like a motherfucker, like big time.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
Uh,
it's the
if you're
worst feeling.
exposed, if it's humid or you're exposed in the sun,
Mhm.
you're gonna be sweating your ass off. So they don't realize, and they think Gatorade. They've been programmed to think that Gatorade hydrates you. Oh, because it has electrolytes. I'm like, bro, fucking water, okay? Just drink some water, and you'll be good.
Yeah,
Like lots of water.
yeah. I usually I try to prep myself at least 2 weeks before the initial week of the event
Yeah,
to just kind of. All right, so I know I'm hydrated. I know I'm like just drinking that water, and we sometimes we'll get these little flavor packets that usually have
yeah,
electrolytes in them that we'll put them in our bladder packs. We'll fill them up with ice, and then we'll freeze it the night before. So like Friday night after media day, we'll put them in the hotel freezers and stuff, and keep them there. So in the morning and throughout the day, as that ice progressively melts, you're gaining water, so you're not having to stop and refill all the time your
right.
bladder packs.
It's a good idea. Yeah.
So
Well, plus it's cold too, so it's
that too,
it's
it does
helping
help.
cool it off. Yeah. Now, what's the so you've been to some really big events with lots of people. What is the worst? Have you had an injury while you played? And what's the worst one? And where's the worst place you got shot?
I think the worst injury, mm, I'd probably say kind of kneeling in cactuses. Have probably been the
Oh
worst ones.
shit. Yeah.
I've had kneeled in a cactus a few times, and not the big ones. It's little micro mini ones. So you get like the
Uh-huh.
little needles in your knees.
Oh God.
Um, those ones have hurt a lot. And I think the worst spot I've ever been shot was playing here in Utah. We were doing Operation Hardline. I think the first Hardline I believe it was. We were playing in this 3-story furniture building, and it was pitch black in this area. And I'm walking by, and I took a headshot to the dome. And within probably 2-3 seconds of it, I get this massive migraine.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it hit me pretty hard. It like knocked me for a second. I was like, okay, that's a headache.
Oh my God. So you didn't, you just had goggles on? Or would
I had
you
a
have face covering?
Yeah, so I had a face covering, and I had a hat on with a bump cap underneath, but it kind of found that soft spot between the helmet and the glass. Like,
Why does it always do that, bro?
I,
That
those are
is
the
so
words.
common.
Those ones and the other ones that hurt the most when you get hit in the side, where
Uh,
it's just like that's it's like that
okay.
knife soft spot on you, and
Ugh.
it
Yeah.
rings, and we're like, okay, you gotta walk away for a minute, going, I'm gonna feel
Oh,
that
dude.
tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah, I swear these little fuckers find the spot that is not covered. The BBs. It's so weird to me how you'll be geared up like like that where you got shot in the head. I've heard that story so many times where somebody has a hat on and they have the goggles and there's this little spot right here and that's where
Mhm.
they get hit. It's just strange. Like I mean, there's not that many BBs flying around. Like it's not like a swarm of, you know,
Yeah, Just that,
thousands,
that
ten
one
thousands.
BB.
Yeah, right.
It's like a to me when that happens, I'm like what? You put a little heat seeker on it or something? Find the
It
skin.
is. I swear, man, for real.
Ooh.
That's crazy. Okay. So, I haven't played, so my experience with paintball, I've gotten shot a bunch with that. And we just wore jeans and a t-shirt. We didn't wear any gear.
Mhm.
So we were trying to get the biggest welt, to show off at the end. So, I mean, we're just, and it fucking hurts. But the one time I got shot with, well, that's not one time. One time here, I made them shoot me with, we had oh, I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, it was like a submachine gun from like the 1950s or whatever, replica we got in one of these mystery
Okay.
boxes. Had a 90 round mid cap that came with it, and was right out of the box it was shooting. It was full metal too, man. This thing was badass. But it was one of those side fed magazines,
Okay,
like you
that's
see
pretty
in
cool.
like World War II kind of
Yeah.
thing, whatever. But this thing was shooting 380 FPS with .2s. It was shooting, I think, 18 or something like that, almost 20 rounds a second. So I had them fill the mag. I said, and I was talking shit about airsoft. This is early in our channel, and I'm
Mhm.
talking shit about it the whole time. I'm like, these BBs don't hurt. There's no way. I worked on these guns. There's no way this little tiny plastic thing, that I've loaded these magazines. They're light as hell. There's no
Yeah.
way it hurt. So I had them shoot me in the hand, like on the top right here. I
Mm.
just stood like this, and they were about 30 feet away. And I said, go ahead, full auto, dump the mag on my hand. They're like, no, dude. I'm like, just do it. I got a beer in this hand, and I'm holding this hand out. And, bro, holy shit. I mean, it wrecked my hand. I got pictures on my Instagram
Ooh,
of,
let me
uh,
go
of what
back.
it
I'll
looked
see if I
like.
can find it.
Yeah, if you scroll way down, you'll see it. Um, I think I put a little tiny video where I'm actually going like this in front of a target where you see all the blood splatter, the blood
Ooh.
blisters all over. And then I don't know if I put it on our Instagram, but like the next day, I put my hands up like this, a comparison, and
Mhm.
this thing was like this high.
Oh
It
yeah, they.
was, oh, it was bad.
Ugh.
It was bad.
Yeah, you just get some that are like that don't hurt as much, but then you get some that are like, wow, that
Yeah.
really put a bump there.
No shit, right? Hell yeah.
Well,
Cool, man. Well, you got, so how many guns do you have right now? Like, do you have a collection of guns? I
um,
mean, you have the two that you like, but,
I do have a third one. I have a total of four on my own personal own. I have an MP5 from Umbrella Armory also,
oh,
and then
nice.
and then I have an LMG that I have that I use sometimes, but not super often.
Which one is that?
Um,
229?
it's the CMG 16 from G&G Armament.
Okay.
So it's not like it's just kind of like it's an M4, but it takes like a box mag that they kind of made themselves that you can use in
Oh,
between an
okay.
M4s. I
Uh-huh.
did used to always wanted to get an LMG, and
Yeah.
then I kind of ran some of my buddies M249 Featherlight,
Yeah.
and I ran that and just kind of really wasn't my play style. I kind of be like the quick. I've always been kind of more of an M4 and SMG kind of quick and fast, back and forth, kind of
Right.
get up there, do the objective, and then hurry and get back if need be. Or
Hmm.
so.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, the G&Gs are, they're not bad, man, for, especially for like starter guns.
Oh no, yeah, that's one I'd highly recommend to people is the G&Gs, like 150 $200. You can get a pretty good one that could last you quite a long time if you get a lucky batch.
Right. Yeah, and you don't really have to do too much to them, like, especially if you're not playing like every weekend.
Hmm.
Or for, if you're only going for like one day, like if you go to just pick up games or whatever, open play, like on a couple times a month on a Saturday,
Yeah.
you're not really, a mil sim you're going to use, it's going to get used a lot more in those 3 days or whatever. But the 1 day plays, you're playing for what, 5 6 hours. Um, you're not spamming the trigger, 10,000 rounds or nothing. So
Hmm.
they're pretty solid. We have a ARP9 up here, and then somebody, I think it was Johnny's cousin, got a CM16,
Oh,
combat
nice.
machine. Yeah, it
I've
was
heard
really
those ones.
nice.
I've heard those ones are pretty good. I actually had an ARP9 from G&G, and I loved it. Like
Yeah.
probably one of my mother's most favorite SMGs next to the MP5. Like that thing is just was a beast right out of the box, just hitting people 200 feet away, and it was just all completely stock. Like
Yep.
bravo to G&G for making something like something that great, and then they
For real.
came out with their Mark II version with their slightly longer rail system. And by that point, though, I got my MP5, and that's what I always really wanted. So
Okay.
I was like, all right, I'm gonna stick with this.
Dude, MP5s are really popular, man. A lot of people like that.
They really are. They're
Yeah.
they're a bit hard to like tack on. That's one I had that I was trying to do an HPA for it, and
Okay.
the gearbox and just taking apart the whole thing. It's not like taking an M4 apart where it's a simple pin, like two pins you pop out. It's sliding it on, and then you got like to take the lower portion off, and it was a lot more complicated than I thought when I first started. So I was like, oh, well, I'm not never cracking one of these open again.
And really, see, I've never seen a video on it, and we've never had one, so I never knew, if it's hard to take apart or whatever. But yeah, I know that they're popular. Like a lot of people like them.
Hmm. I think they're really good for like close, like for kind of close quarter, building to building kind of stuff. Range wise, they're kind of a hit and a miss.
Okay.
So
Now you got one from Umbrella Armory, so was it one of those high end ones that was built
yeah,
like that?
yeah. So they took the Elite Forces, I think it's the MP5A4, and they just kind of gutted the inside of it and did their own tech work to it, upgrading everything in it to kind of faster fire rate, quicker response, and all that kind of stuff, and better hop up system in it. But
Okay.
the exterior wise of it's all from Elite Force.
Okay.
So
Yeah, but I
yeah,
mean, really the internals is what makes a difference, right?
yeah, the internal is what makes the difference. Like the rate of fire, distance, and all that kind of. If you have a really good hop up unit, you could get really good distance.
Yeah.
And then rate of fire. I'm not super crazy about like super fast rate of fire, but I don't like want a slow rate of fire either.
Right.
So
I gotcha. Oh yeah, man. Well, listen, man, it's been awesome talking with you, and good to get to meet you finally. I just found out about your YouTube channel or your Instagram like just a few days ago, or like last week. Whenever I
yeah.
message you, the day I messaged you about being on, I think that was like the day before I just found out about your channel. Oh God, I can't remember who shouted you out when I was
I
talking with them.
think it was the Jester team, I think, out there in Cali, I
Yeah,
think.
it was.
They're really cool guys. I met them at the last year's Copperhead and
Okay.
talked with them and met them, and they were really cool. I like them. I think two of them actually came out to our game out here in Utah for the Hiawatha Hardline and stuff.
Oh,
Two of them
okay.
traveled all the way out from California out
Yeah.
here to come play, so it was cool to see them again and talk to them.
Yeah, I think that's
So,
what they were talking about when they mentioned you. Matter of fact, their podcast that I talked with them it comes out tomorrow morning. So,
oh, cool. Yeah,
uh,
I'll be listening to
yeah.
that while I'm at work. Then I sitting there doing my thing, and that's what I'll put in. I'll be like I was listening to K Factors the other day, and it was really
Oh,
cool to
yeah.
listen to that one. I remember he said something about it when he did his review and everything. So I was like, all right. I was like, oh, I've tried doing airsoft. I've looked at airsoft podcasters, and I've tried some other ones that people make, and I'm just like, well, they're not that good. But I listened to yours, and I was like, I like this one.
Oh, thanks, dude.
I like this guy's podcast. So
I appreciate it. Well, honestly, I feel like they're not that good on my end. I
mhm.
just, like you guys, my guests are the ones that are. I try to put the spotlight on you guys, so because I'm trying to find out what uh what got you into airsoft. What are you excited about? Well, what are you looking forward to? That kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so when somebody tells me, I always laugh when somebody tells me like, "Oh yeah, man, I found your podcast like recently, and I've listened to." I don't know a lot of them over the last week. I'm like, oh shit, I'm sorry, so Like, oh my God, you had to hear me talk too much, but yeah, no, that's cool, dude. Well, one thing's for sure is, and I follow a lot of airsoft podcasts as well, and I listen to a lot of different ones. Is it's hard to find some that are very consistent that put them out, put out a lot of them. Like they'll put out one a week, and then then you'll see them there. There won't be one for weeks, and then they'll put out one more, and then they'll, or once a month, and it's like there's not really a whole lot out there that has a lot of episodes.
Yeah.
So that's something I wanted to do with ours was, uh, I mean, there's so many people to talk with. Like when I'm talking, like I said, I just found out about you from Jester, and then, I'm listening to all these different people talk about somebody else or who they played with, and it just leads to the next person that I'm curious about. So it's pretty
Nice.
cool,
Well, that's really cool. Yeah. That's what I really liked about yours too. It's just like you're consistent with it, but it's like, not these super famous airsofters you see on YouTube. It's just normal
Yeah,
day people that just go out and play and, where they play and what their experience is like. And I think that's really cool that you are able to get a hold of people like us and just ask us these questions so we can, look back and kind of go, well, look what I did. Look at
yeah,
the,
for sure, man.
it kind of maybe I look at it like it also helps with people that want to get into, what's good and what's bad and, where you should
Hmm.
start with. So instead of just going to YouTube and watching these people that have like, million subscribers, you can ask it from people that
Right.
have been playing maybe even longer and
Hmm.
can show you, then they can, show them the ropes on how to do it,
That's who I want to talk to, man. For real. I'm not. I was never looking for like, oh, how many views can I get on this thing? So I want to have, the bigger YouTube channels on here as guests. I never thought about that. It was more of on a personal level. If you and I met in person, we talk, similar how we're talking now, and
Hmm.
just a casual conversation. And I want to talk with the people that have been playing for a while that really have never done a podcast, have never really, they don't have a big Instagram or YouTube channel or whatever. I like I like talking with people like that, they have a lot of experience in it, but if you just looked at their social media stuff, a lot of people would go, well, they don't really have a big, following. Yeah, but this guy has like, tons of experience with, that kind of thing. I like
Yeah.
giving people a voice. I want to put the spotlight on somebody that's never been, uh, or never had that, I guess, if they want that. So
Nice.
yeah, hell yeah, dude.
That's really cool.
Well, speaking of that, where can everybody find you online? All your
Um,
stuff.
I just barely have an Instagram, so it's just Airsoft Tundra. I kind of barely made it just a few years. I think about a year, 2 years ago, I think. I can't
Okay,
really remember when I made it. Just one day I just was on my own Instagram and I was like, you know what? I want to make an Instagram account on my Airsoft and just kind of see where it goes.
good.
It's kind of just share people what I do and what I like to do. If it goes somewhere, if it does, if it doesn't, I don't care. It's just something to kind of post about because
Yep.
just that'd be fun to share. And because we get these photographers out here in Utah and these bigger events, they get all these pictures and stuff. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
all these other people are making these accounts for them. I'll just try for it and see what happens.
Hell yeah.
So
Good.
nothing
Well, that,
crazy behind it. And I'm looked at maybe doing YouTube. I don't know yet. I gotta kind of learn how to do all that stuff and just do that for fun.
right.
I don't want to. Not trying to make it like my career to do. Just something on the side would be fun to do to show people. Oh, look at
Right.
these. Look at this event that I went to, and because I know a lot
You're a
of people, and they
pro.
try to find these events they want to go to. You can't find too much footage on, especially these older places where people are starting to play it again. And at the
Right.
time, they really didn't have footage of it. So, what do you expect when you're going into it?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I'll tell you right now, if you do start the YouTube thing and you start recording all this stuff, welcome to the rabbit hole of editing and yeah, because once you start, it's like, oh, I want to, it takes you down that road. Kind of like getting into airsoft, when you're with all the gears and the gear and guns and that kind of shit. Yeah. So if somebody hears this or watches this, and they're in close to your area
Mhm.
of Utah, and they want to play, at some events that you're playing, like just pickup games or whatever, on the weekends, where would they find like where to play with you guys?
I would recommend looking up kind of a place to find a lot of people that play. Go to Utah Airsoft on Facebook.
Gotcha.
Um, they're kind of the big social hub for Utah, where like a lot
Okay.
of events are shared and where we go. Sometimes I'm on there posting things about, hey guys, this event's coming up. If anyone wants to attend, or if they even want to reach out to me on in Instagram, and I'll get back
Hmm.
to them and let them know, hey, I'll be at this event at this location or something.
Okay.
So, like
Good.
I'm always glad out to meet people and show off some of my gear and let people borrow some of my gear because they have a lot of it. So if they want to come out and play but they don't have anything, well, here you go. I got a spare vest and it's got a spare gun and a mag they can use, and
Right.
just have fun.
Right. Oh, that's cool. Good, man. Well,
So
listen, brother, it's been awesome talking with you. Thank you so much for your time, and yeah, good luck at your future events with all your mil sims you're going to be going to this year.
much appreciated. Thanks for having me on here.
All right,
It's
brother.
been an
Have a good
awesome
night.
time. I was super
Oh,
pumped
good.
about this. So
Oh, I'm glad, man. Yeah, I appreciate that you were so open with your schedule to be on. Like it was really easy to schedule stuff with you, so I do appreciate that.
cool. Well, thanks for having me again.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
You too. See ya.